welcome in Jake Shapiro. Jake, it's Dave, it's Jason. Thank you for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. It's been a very busy 24 hours here in the Mile High City.
Yeah, so we can kind of empathize. Not that we won championships or had one of the greatest players to ever play the game, but it was a dark and stormy night in Sacramento when the news spread while our star DeMarcus Cousins had viral meningitis that Michael Malone, who many thought was the greatest coach since Rick Adelman in Sacramento, I think most thought that, had been let go. And to this day, that seems to be thought of as one of the biggest missteps of ownership that took over in 2012. But now it seems to have happened again on an even weirder level. Take us through when you heard the news and what was going through your head, Jake.
Yeah, I've been totally stunned at the timing of this decision. This is the latest head coach firing in NBA history, which obviously comes on the heels of Michael Malone being treated rather unfairly by Sacramento. So this is a guy who's been two times now one of the better coaches in the NBA over the last 10 years, 15 years, treated pretty unfairly by two NBA organizations. So I'm not too surprised that Calvin Booth, the Nuggets GM, has been let go. He was due for a contract renewal at year's end. In the past, KSE, who owns the Nuggets, have let those deals with executives run out towards the end of a season if they do not like the direction of the team. As far as Malone, this is by far and away the best coach the Denver Nuggets have ever had. He has led the best era of Denver Nuggets basketball. He has allowed Denver Nuggets fans to feel like they can talk smack to the Los Angeles Lakers. This guy has given the Nuggets so much freedom and their fan base so much freedom. And it ends ultimately because of a sour stretch of play that can kind of go back to the middle of December. There was a win streak there in the middle that got caught up and kind of refixed some things that were going on and covered up some of the symptoms. But this is a team who's been kind of falling apart at the seams for quite a while now.
So you're not stunned about Booth, but but Michael Malone here. I hear you, Jake, in saying about it's kind of been a lengthy subpar play with more recently a losing streak that they're going through, obviously without Jamal Murray, which I think is a huge factor. But how much of it, too, would you say is he doesn't have the same kind of depth and ingredients that you guys had there just a couple of years ago when you won a title?
I think that's
I think he froze on us
this morning. And, you can blame Malone for not finding the solutions, not necessarily cooking up the way out of this situation. But the fact of the matter is, who's guarding guys like De'Aaron Fox on this roster? Who is guarding even Norman Powell? The Nuggets do not have a point of attack defender. They don't have a single perimeter defender on their roster. And on top of that, Aaron Gordon, who's the best defender on the team, has missed about half the season. And that's why the Denver Nuggets have currently been the 22nd best defense in the NBA post All-Star break, where they were the 5th best team on defense post All-Star break last year.
You mentioned Calvin Booth, and I know a lot more about Michael Malone than I do Calvin Booth, but I'd said earlier, Jake, and I just please push back on me. You're the guy on the ground that covers the team. Calvin Booth's tenure to me from the outside hasn't looked impressive. Tim Conley, I think, should get the credit for building that core of the team. I looked at Booth's transactions, including letting KCP, Bruce Brown, and others go. Am I right in saying that was, I don't want to say more deserved, but less surprising than Malone?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I had an article ready to go on Calvin Booth's firing. Did not have an article ready to go on the Michael Malone firing. I'll put it as simple as that. The thing with Calvin Booth, though, and the Bruce Brown one is interesting. CBA limitations prevented the Nuggets from matching that contract. That was a decision out of the Nuggets' hands. They could offer Bruce Brown $7 million per year. Indiana Pacers offered him $22 million per year. There's nothing the Nuggets could have done about that. This offseason, ownership decided that they did not want to give Kentavious Caldwell-Pope I'll put it this way. He was offered something, quote, that insulted him, according to one of my sources. And that comes from ownership not wanting to climb into the tax. So I'm not sure that either of those decisions really fall on Booth, but it's the things like giving guaranteed contracts to Jalen Pickett and Hunter Tyson, who have been very who have just not impacted the Denver Nuggets, instead of filling out the roster with veterans, that bothered Malone. And that kind of led to this Cold War rift between the two, where there were people in the Denver Nuggets organization who did not talk to Michael Malone, and people in the Nuggets organization on the other side who did not talk to Calvin Booth. There were total factions within the Denver Nuggets organization. Calvin Booth was setting up Michael Malone to get fired. Like, let's be clear about that. And it ultimately got both of them fired.
Yeah, and what's interesting here, look, these are not easy decisions to be made. People can debate and praise or rip apart this thought, but into the core, what I read on this, Jake, is let's go to Michael Malone part. There's 3 games to go. This team could be a 3 seed, could be an 8 seed. Like there's a lot of different places they can go, but it's still a team that could get out of the West if everything falls in place. They must feel, the decision makers, that they're better off doing this now to still make the most of whatever is left of this season. That part, I think, is to me the most shocking. That, and no offense to Adelman, maybe he can make that happen, but they feel better off with what's that option as opposed to running this one more time, even if it's another week with Coach Malone.
Yeah, the exact quote from team owner Josh Kroenke was, "This decision was made with the intention of giving our group the best chance at competing for the 2025 championship and delivering a second title to Denver." So I'm not of the belief that firing the best coach in franchise history is the move, but ultimately there are signs that Michael Malone had lost the locker room. Like, Nikola Jokic was boiling Friday night in the Bay Area when the Nuggets played the Warriors. Aaron Gordon and Peyton Watson got into it on the bench on Sunday. That Russell Westbrook blown layup against the Minnesota Timberwolves that he should not have taken legitimately changed the franchise's history here in Denver. I do not think that Michael Malone gets fired if that decision does not get made by Russ. And it's the 4th time a coach has been fired because of Russell Westbrook in the last 6 years. Like, I don't know if it's solely because of Russell Westbrook, but you get the point. Like, this thing was so close to teetering to the negative that this is all that it took. 1,000 little things kind of led to this decision, but the positive moving forward, they think David Adelman has a chance to be a great coach of this league. He's been interviewing for jobs every single offseason. He's the guy who runs the Nuggets offense. As of late, the offense has gone stale. The offense has not been one of the best in the league. Under Nikola Jokic, that's almost been a guarantee. So if you take away Michael Malone and you just give pure, unabashed David Adelman straight to the team, does the offense return back to its glory? And I think that's the question. I don't know that he's really going to be able to get the team up. He's not a rah-rah guy. He's a tactician, but maybe that's what they need, because the players themselves need to take the onus at this point, and it's something they haven't done all season long.
Jake Shapiro joining us from Denver, our sister station Sports 104.3 covers the Nuggets. Couple of things, by the way, David Adelman, another Sacramento connection. Yeah. Rick Adelman's a living god for what he did out here. I expect David to get a nice ovation making his debut in a town he spent a lot of time in growing up, and I agree with everything you said about him. A couple of those rumory type things you hear, and when something like this happens. One, you kind of alluded to Jokic. He's extension eligible this summer, and there was thought to be some friction between he and Michael Malone, and there's been rumored to be worries, not necessarily that he'd leave, but that he's obviously the most powerful person in the organization. Maybe he and Michael didn't see eye to eye. Also, part of the issue, again, hearing between Booth and Malone, was Malone's insistence on playing Russ Westbrook over Jalen Pickett, for example, and some of the younger guys. Have you heard that? Is any of that hold water with you?
Yeah, I've heard some stories essentially along the lines of Michael Malone was harder on the guys that were the Booth guys, which are Jalen Pickett, Zeke Naji, and it got into this really weird cycle where Calvin Booth wanted Michael Malone to play these guys more. They didn't play more. So Michael Malone got blamed by Calvin Booth for these guys struggling. Okay, so when they did play, they were struggling. So Michael Malone didn't want to play them. But Calvin Booth's explanation is you didn't play them enough, so they were struggling. And then we ended up kind of in this circle of who's to blame for these guys struggling. Ultimately, guys, honestly, Zeke Naji probably isn't an NBA player, and Calvin Booth gave him a 4-year, $32 million extension, and he's just someone that's been struggling the entire time he's been in Denver. They haven't been able to figure out his position. for you to be grasping at straws and arguing over what in reality is your third string point guard and your third string power forward in the middle of the golden era of Nuggets hoops, led by maybe the third best offensive player in the history of basketball. What are we doing? It just makes no sense that it went from how do we align ourselves as an organization to win basketball games, which was the message under Tim Conley. Everyone was aligned to who is right and who deserves credit, which it quickly devolved into after the Nuggets won the title. Calvin Booth did that giant article with Kevin O'Connor of The Ringer after the title, where he basically said, we're interested in a dynasty. He wanted to take a victory lap on how smart he was. Why are you trying to take credit and revealing to the NBA what your secrets are to everybody else? It makes no sense. Before the start of this season, I've got it on good authority that the Denver Nuggets, who hired someone who used to work for the Denver Post to basically rein Calvin in because he was bad at communication skills, that person passed an article along to ESPN, which ended up with the Ramona Shelburne article that came out in November, which basically just started putting all the blame on Michael Malone. Wow. So it was so nasty. And I think it says a lot that the Denver Nuggets only blew out two people yesterday. They could have blown out a lot more and had a whole organizational issue. They only blew out two, the coach and the GM.
Denver fans, how are they taking this? I mean, Malone's more of a face they see, and probably, as you've expressed, I mean, their most successful coach. There's got to be emotions about him. How are the people of the region taking the news on both firings?
Yeah, Booth is persona non grata over here. He's going to be one of the all-time enemies in Denver sports history. He has been full of missteps in front of the media. He has done himself no favors in explaining some of the decisions he's made. Meanwhile, like I said earlier, Michael Malone is the guy that says, take that L on the way out to Los Angeles fans. He's the guy that's talking about how we're the Lakers' daddies now. He's the guy who wins 9 straight games against the Warriors, wins 13 out of 14 against the Lakers, completely upsets the apple cart in the West, basically ends Portland, basically ends Phoenix, ends Utah the way we knew it, ends the LeBron AD era. Like, the Nuggets took out half the West, Doc Rivers and the Clippers. Like, Malone is responsible for the biggest moments in Denver Nuggets history besides things that happened with David Thompson and Alex English. The 3-1 series comebacks, winning on the road, these huge games on the come up. I mean, heck, Nikola Jokic wasn't guaranteed to be a star. It's not like the Nuggets drafted him 1-1. This was the guy who was taken 45th overall in the NBA draft, and Michael Malone is partially responsible for turning him into a star player. Oh, and by the way, overseeing the developments of guys like Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr., and more recently, as people claim he didn't play the young guys, Christian Brown, who's developed into one of the better shooting guards in the league here in the middle of a championship window. So Denver fans will always and forever love Michael Malone. His win number will one day hang from the rafters, I bet, once things clear up. And I think Denver fans are going to be upset that the next 10 years, he's either going to lead the San Antonio Spurs or the New York Knicks to a lot of success, while the Denver Nuggets are in this wild card position. I'm not sure really how they're going to find a better coach on the market when historically they've been cheap. I mean, heck, fellas, three weeks ago, I had a nightmare that I was interviewing Doc Rivers in the Nuggets media room. That to me is a nightmare. Like, I felt this coming.
Jake Shapiro, our sister station, Sports 104.3. Couple things as we are out of time. Number one, you're getting a lot of compliments on your mustache in the chat, so we just want to shout that out. Also, just so you know, if I had an MVP vote, it's Jokic. He's not going to win it probably, but I just want you to know, Jokic is my MVP, 100%.
He needs 90 more points and I think 14 more assists to guarantee that he averages a 30-point triple-double for the entire season over the next 3 games.
No, that's okay. I guess, well, whatever. Shea shoots free throws. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Jake. Have a good one, brother.
Thank you.
Good, guys.
Always good time to Jake Shapiro.
Good perspective.
We will take a break. Great perspective. When we come back.